To find the richest veins of gold, you shouldn't look in the ground. The largest fortunes were mined directly from the human brain. Take the case of R.U. Darty. During the gold rush, he spent months drilling into the earth, only to abandon his claim when the physical ore seemingly dried up. He sold his equipment to a junkman, who brought in an engineer and discovered the main vein was exactly 3 feet from where Darby stopped digging. Darby suffered a mental defeat right at the finish line. Most of us operate under what Hill calls a poverty consciousness. We assume that acquiring capital requires either backbreaking physical labor, a sudden windfall of luck, or both. We treat money as a strictly physical problem. In the early 20th century, Napoleon Hill spent 25 years analyzing the lives of over 500 millionaires, people who started with nothing and built industrial empires, to figure out exactly how wealth is actually generated. His conclusion was blunt. Money is inert matter. It doesn't move, think, or respond to idle wishes. It is attracted to a specific state of mind. To build lasting physical wealth, you have to build a precise mental assembly line first. The assembly line starts with the spark. A casual hope for financial independence lacks a specific target. Without a defined amount or a deadline, the mind has no concrete instructions to act upon. You need an obsession, a burning desire. When Edwin C. Barnes decided he wanted to partner with Thomas Edison, he had no money, no influence, and no technical background. He didn't ask for a job, he demanded a partnership, systematically burning every alternative bridge behind him, leaving no option but to succeed. To monetize a desire like that, Hill mapped out a strict 6-step formula. You name the exact dollar amount you intend to acquire. You determine exactly what service you will give in return. You set a firm date, create a plan, write it all down in a clear statement, and finally, you read it out loud twice a day until you can mentally see the physical cash. But this strict formula fails if the engine underneath it, your subconscious mind, is secretly expecting poverty. If you harbor silent doubts about your ability to generate value, your brain will sabotage the blueprint. This is where you introduce the fuel, auto-suggestion. It's the deliberate hacking of your own subconscious. By feeding your brain emotionally charged, repetitive thoughts of success, you actively overwrite deeply ingrained fears of poverty and criticism. Internal engineering transforms the brain from a passive observer into an active magnet. It begins to selectively filter reality, drawing your attention to the people, circumstances, and opportunities that match its dominant programming. Once the internal machinery is running, you have to scale it externally. And that brings us to the accelerator, the mastermind. Henry Ford was repeatedly mocked by his critics for having a limited formal education, yet he built one of the largest industrial fortunes in American history by surrounding himself with experts who had the exact specialized knowledge he lacked. The logic of the mastermind is mathematical. No individual has enough experience or processing power to build an empire alone. But when 2 or more minds coordinate toward a definite purpose in complete harmony, they generate a surplus of creative energy that any member of the group can tap into. Even with a perfectly tuned mastermind, many highly intelligent groups collapse right on the edge of a breakthrough. They hit a wall of temporary defeat, assume their plan is fatally flawed, and quit. To survive those walls, you need the armor of persistence. It is the fusion of willpower and desire. Thomas Edison met with temporary defeat 10,000 times before he perfected the incandescent light bulb. To him, those weren't failures. They were just data points eliminating faulty plans. The mastermind and persistence function as the external filters that separate dreamers from the accumulators who make history. Money is deaf to wishing, but when a mind is rigidly programmed with a burning desire, reinforced by autosuggestion, guided by a mastermind and protected by persistence, that inert matter listens when the individual calls. The world contains a surplus of resources and opportunity, but it remains locked behind a specific psychological gate. You have authority over the single variable that starts the entire process, your dominating thoughts. Write down your definite chief aim today, build your mastermind alliance, and whatever opposition you face, refuse to drop your shovel just 3 feet from gold.